The Bible mentions some of the most impressive buildings in history, and each of them carries a hidden mystery, a lost message, or a truth that few dare to investigate. In this video, you'll embark on a fascinating journey through 5 of the most incredible biblical constructions and the secrets they conceal. But stay alert. The last one on the list will challenge everything you thought you knew and may leave you
Noah,
speechless.
the end of all flesh has come
Are you ready
before
to
me.
explore
Make
the
thee an ark.
mysteries that unite faith, history, and archaeology? Then get ready, because what comes next may change your perspective on the past and the future. Let's get started. The greatest constructions of the Bible. Have you ever imagined what it would be like to build a gigantic ship without modern technology? No cranes, no
Steady
electric
now, Shem.
saws,
Lift with your legs.
just
Yes,
wood,
Father.
calloused
Secure.
hands,
Good.
and
The work
unshakable
continues.
faith. That's exactly
This vessel
what Noah
shall
did.
preserve
And
life.
centuries later,
Let the pit
this story
seal it tight
continues to
against the
intrigue
coming waters.
scientists, archaeologists, and those who believe in the impossible. The Bible reveals to us that in a time of extreme corruption
framework
and
holds
chaos on earth, God chose a man
Lord's
for a
design is
mission that
perfect.
seemed impossible: to build a colossal refuge to save his family and representatives of every animal species from a global flood.
Come, all of
Now,
you.
picture the scene.
Hurry now.
Noah
Before the
receives
heavens
this
unleash
divine
their
order.
fury.
He begins to cut wood, carve joints, and design compartments. The work was grueling, decades of construction under the scorching sun, facing mockery, doubt, and the burden of being responsible for preserving God's creation. But the ark was not a simple boat. Its dimensions were gigantic, approximately 450 feet in length, 75 feet in width, and 45 feet in height. To give you an idea, it was nearly the size of a modern cargo ship, all made of gopher wood and coated with pitch to resist the waters. Now think with me, how did Noah accomplish this
Behold
feat
the promise
without
of the Lord.
advanced tools?
Sign of hope.
How did he
Storm is
organize
past.
the animals inside the ark? And above all, was there really a flood capable of covering mountains? Myth
These
or
layers hold the
reality?
story of a great
Science
flood.
tries to answer.
The evidence is unmistakable in the
Geologists and
sediment.
historians have found evidence of a massive flood in the Mesopotamian region. Studies suggest that thousands of years ago, a
Control, this is
catastrophic
Eagle One.
event
I
may
must
have
set subway
submerged
cred, but
large
that
areas,
circling back
giving
now.
rise to the tradition of a global
The summit
flood.
is near. I can
But
feel
what
it.
stands
Stay
out
close, the
are
path
the
is treacherous.
supposed
Look, the mist
discoveries of
parts
the
for us.
ark itself.
The grains align
In
perfectly with the ark's
1959,
design.
A
This is
Turkish
proof of
pilot
the
flew
sinking
over
vessel.
Mount Ararat and
The
identified a
dimensions match
formation
the historical
resembling the
records
hull of a ship.
precisely.
But the
Since
curvature
then,
here suggests a later
Various
influence.
expeditions
Perfect
have
match.
attempted to confirm if the remains of Noah's vessel are there. Some missions have found petrified wood pieces and even geological structures consistent with a large ship. But the question remains, is it really Noah's Ark? Science
The walls
still
are immense.
debates.
How can we prevail?
Meanwhile,
The
faith
city's defenses are
remains
unyielding. We are
unwavering.
outmatched.
Imagine standing before a city surrounded by colossal walls, so thick and imposing that they seemed impassable. A fortress built to withstand any enemy, protecting its inhabitants from any external
Soldiers,
threat.
march around
Now,
the city
try
once.
to visualize the
Do not
impossible.
speak, for the
These
Lord has
walls
given
don't
us this
fall to
victory.
battering rams, explosives, or war machines. They crumble due to something much more enigmatic, the sound of trumpets and cries of faith. This is the story of Jericho, one of the oldest cities in humanity, and the scene of one of the most mysterious and controversial events in the Bible. An event so extraordinary that it still defies logic and intrigues scientists and historians. But did this really happen? And more importantly, what does science have to say about this impressive collapse? According to biblical accounts, Jericho was a fortified city, protected by walls so high and sturdy that any attack seemed practically impossible. For the Israelites, who had wandered the desert for 40 years,
Priests, blow the
conquering it
trumpets!
seemed like an insurmountable challenge. But God had a plan that defied all known military strategies. The Israeli army received a peculiar order: march around the city once a day in complete silence for 6 days. No attacks, no weapons, just a silent march, as if waiting for an invisible signal. On the 7th day, something different was supposed to happen. 7 trips around the city, trumpets echoing through the air, and a unified shout from all the people. And then, abruptly and inexplicably, the walls simply collapsed. Not by war machines, not by predictable earthquakes, just by sound. Now stop and think, is that possible? How could a simple march and the sound of trumpets bring down such resistant walls? Throughout the 20th century, archaeologists began investigating Jericho in search of answers. And that's when the story got even more interesting. In the 1950s, British archaeologist Kathleen Kenyon conducted a detailed excavation in the region and made a shocking
We
discovery.
arrived at Jericho.
There were
the veil
indeed
between worlds feels
ruins of
thin.
a large wall
The air is
that
charged.
seemed to have
Let's
collapsed
begin.
suddenly. But the most surprising part, the evidence suggested that the walls fell from the inside out.
Careful with that
This was
foundation
something
layer.
completely
These carvings are
unusual.
extraordinary. Note the
Typically,
alignment with
when
the
a city is
celestial.
invaded, the walls
Observe
are
this
torn down
inward
from the
collapse
outside
pattern.
due to attacks.
The force
But
was
in
from
Jericho,
above, pushing
the
downward
collapse
and
seemed to
inward.
have come from within. This coincides with the biblical account. The walls weren't brought down by human forces.
Typical
but by
siege
something
warfare
much
shows
greater.
walls falling
But what if
inward
there's a
from
natural
external
explanation
attack.
for this event? Some researchers suggest
This
that
fault
an
line runs
earthquake
directly under
may have
Jericho.
been the real
Readings
cause
confirm it,
of
a
the collapse.
97.2 event. The
Indeed,
epicenter is right here.
Jericho
Observe
is
the Jordan
located on a
Rift.
geological
These
fault,
faults
and
echoed the
tremors
second
are
trend now.
relatively common in the region. The idea of the earthquake
Sound the
could make
trumpet!
sense, were it not for one crucial detail. How could Joshua and the Israelites have predicted
These signs
exactly
are
when
divine
an earthquake
judgment.
would
No,
happen?
they are natural
And
cycles.
more.
The strata
How
confirm
could it have
Faith
occurred
explains the
exactly at the
unexplainable.
moment of the trumpet blasts and war cries? If an earthquake was responsible, then we would have to admit an almost impossible synchronicity. Could this be one of those cases where science and faith meet? What if Jericho fell due to an event far beyond what we can explain? One thing is certain: the story of Jericho remains one of the greatest mysteries of biblical archaeology. But get ready, because the next structure we'll explore is even more mysterious and challenging. Imagine a building so grand that its walls were covered in pure gold, reflecting the sunlight in a celestial glow. A place so sacred, it was built to house the very presence of God. This was Solomon's temple, the masterpiece
Solomon, my
of
son,
Israel's sacred
The
architecture.
Lord has chosen you to
A
build his
construction
temple. I will
shrouded in
build it, Father,
mystery,
for the glory of the
reverence, and power. But how was such an architectural marvel erected? What does archaeology reveal about its existence? And more importantly, what is its true spiritual significance? The story begins with David, the great king of Israel. His heart burned with the desire to build a temple for God. However, this mission would not be his, but that of his son and successor, Solomon, the wisest king in history.
The
The
noble
chosen
seed arrives.
location was not
Blessed
by
be this
chance.
day.
Mount Moriah, a point of energy and faith, was the very place where centuries earlier, Abraham had almost sacrificed his son Isaac, a location marked by supernatural and divine events. But the construction of the temple would not be just an engineering feat. It would be a colossal project where every
gold is
detail
coming
had
alive.
a divine purpose.
Every
The
stroke
stones
reveals
used
the
in the
divine.
construction were
Veil
precisely
thins.
carved, cut, and prepared far from the building site. An impressive detail: no sound of hammers or tools was heard at the site, in accordance with God's command. This raises an intriguing question. How was it possible to move giant stone blocks, fit them perfectly, and raise a monumental temple without the use of noisy tools on the site itself? The cedars of Lebanon, one of the most noble woods
O
of
Lord,
the time,
God of
were
Israel,
brought from distant lands.
hear the prayer of your
Their
servant.
sacred aroma filled the air, and their use was
O
not
Lord,
just
my
aesthetic,
God,
but a symbol
Accept
of
this
royalty
temple as your
and
dwelling on
connection
earth.
to the divine. And then comes the most impressive detail. The entire interior of the temple was covered in pure gold. The walls glowed with a celestial brilliance. Sculpted cherubim, palm trees, and flowers adorned every corner, creating a scene that transcended earthly reality. But the true
Behold,
heart of
the
the
veil to
temple
the most
was an
place.
even more
The
sacred
divine light
place,
glows.
the Holy
The
of
cherubim watch
Holies.
over us.
There, the Ark of the Covenant, the most mysterious artifact in history, rested as a symbol of God's physical presence among the people. After 7 years of intense work, the temple was finally ready. But what happened on the day of its inauguration was something no one could have predicted. Solomon gathered all the people of Israel for an unforgettable ceremony. Before the altar, the king
O
offered
Lord
a
my God, hear
powerful
my
prayer,
prayer. With your eyes
asking
your
God
path
to
with
accept this
towers.
house as his
This your
dwelling
dwelling
on
on
earth.
earth.
And then it happened. Suddenly, a glorious cloud descended and filled the entire temple, a tangible, indescribable presence. What followed was even more impressive. Fire from the sky fell upon the altar, consuming the sacrifices before the astonished eyes of the Israelites. It was the definitive sign. God accepted that temple as his sanctuary. The people knelt in awe. At that moment, they were in the very presence of the living and real Creator. But the story doesn't end here. The Temple of Solomon would remain an enigma throughout the centuries. Its secrets, its destruction, and the mysteries surrounding it echo to this day. And get ready, because the next construction we will explore is even more impressive and challenging. Imagine a world where all humanity speaks a single language. There are no barriers, no borders. All peoples live in perfect communication, united by a single purpose: to build a tower so high that it would reach the heavens. But this ambition, instead of bringing men closer to God, stirred his wrath. And then something unbelievable happened. Communication was irreversibly broken, and the great construction was abandoned forever. But what
This
really
basket
was
holds the finest
Tower
fruits.
of
I will
Babel?
trade you this
Did
fine
it truly
pottery.
exist?
Share your wisdom with
I
me.
What
am
does
ready,
archaeology have to say about this
Behold,
story?
the land
And more
promised to us.
importantly,
A
what
fertile
great
plain
lesson
flowing
does
with
this
life.
construction
Here we shall
teach
build
us
anew.
even today? The Bible tells us that after the great flood, the descendants of Noah began to spread throughout the world.
This mortar
and
binds the
repopulate
bricks
the earth.
stronger than any before.
For a time,
A
they
divine
remained
gift for
united,
building on a scale never
speaking
seen.
a single language,
Behold,
something
the tower
that gave
that
them
reaches to the
extraordinary
heavens.
power,
It is magnificent.
the ability
Let
to
us begin.
organize
Its peak
without
will
limits,
touch the divine.
to advance without obstacles. At some point, these people decided to settle in the plain of Shinar, an area that today corresponds to the ancient Mesopotamia. But they didn't just want to live there. They wanted to leave their mark. With innovative technology for the time, bricks fired in the fire and bitumen as
Let us
mortar,
make a name
they
for
began to build a
ourselves.
monumental
Let us
structure,
build a tower that
so
challenges the
large,
power
so
above.
ambitious, that it would become the ultimate symbol of human self-sufficiency. Let us make a name for ourselves, so that we will not be scattered over the face of the earth. Genesis 11:4, they proclaimed. They wanted to reach the heavens, but not only that, they wanted to challenge God.
A brick!
The
I need a
construction
brick!
progressed.
Water?
The
You said
tower
water!
rose higher and
Bro!
higher.
I
The
drink
power
this,
of
Dad!
man seemed limitless.
Cease your toil!
But
The
then
hour of reckoning
God
is at
intervened.
hand!
He observed the
understand
work and
nothing.
made a radical decision to
This
confuse
is madness!
the language
We can't
of
go
men
on!
Keep
so that they
working!
could no
The
longer
elders commanding!
understand.
The sky warns us!
Try to imagine the scene. A mason asks for a brick, but his colleague understands he asked for water. The foreman tries to give orders, but no one understands him. What was once a unified project becomes absolute chaos. In a matter of moments, the construction site turns into pandemonium. What was once an empire of perfect communication was now fragmented. The men could no longer understand each other, and without coordination, the great tower was abandoned. The builders dispersed, spreading across the world and forming the different nations and cultures we know today. But
These
the big
fragments
question
mirror the
remains,
biblical account of
did
the
this
Tower
really
of Babel.
happen? For many
Structure
scholars,
reaching to
the
the
Tower
heavens.
of Babel may have been inspired by a ziggurat, a type of temple in the shape of a stepped pyramid, commonly found in Mesopotamia. The most famous of these structures was the Etemenanki, a massive temple
Etemenanki,
built in
the house
ancient
that unites
Babylon
heaven and
in
earth.
honor of the
In Genesis,
god
God
Marduk.
separated the heavens
Historical
and the
records
earth.
indicate that the Etemenanki was called the house that unites heaven and earth, a name that strangely resembles the purpose of the Tower of Babel as described in the Bible. Over the centuries, the temple was destroyed and rebuilt several times before being permanently abandoned.
In the ancient
Could
world,
it be the original
many
tower
nations and
mentioned in
tongues
the
spread
scriptures?
across the earth.
There is no definitive answer, but the resemblance between the descriptions is striking. More than just a story about the fragmentation of human language, the story of the Tower of Babel can be interpreted as a timeless warning. How far does human ambition go? Could the relentless pursuit of power and greatness lead us to
For 70
challenges
years, I've
beyond
dreamed
our
of Solomon's
understanding?
temple.
And
Its golden
get
walls,
ready,
the divine light.
because the
That
next
dream is our
structure we're
hope.
going to explore
By royal
holds
decree,
even more surprising
The Jews may
secrets.
return to their homeland
Imagine
and
living in a
rebuild the
time
temple
of
in
pain
Jerusalem.
and exile.
After
Your
70
people
years
have
of
been
exile,
torn
the
from their
decree is
land,
proclaimed,
forcibly
you may
taken to a
return
foreign
your
nation, and watched as your sacred temple, the heart of your faith, was reduced to rubble. For many, this would have been the end of their connection with God,
Devastation is far
but
worse
not
than
for
we
the
imagined.
Jews. When
This
they
was Solomon's
returned from
temple.
Babylonian captivity, they brought with them a dream to rebuild the temple and restore their faith. The Second Temple of Jerusalem was not just a building. It was a symbol of rebirth, hope, and identity
This humble
for an
temple
entire
stands
nation.
before us,
But how
it cannot
was this
compare to
grand
the golden
construction
glory of
built?
Solomon's
What
temple
made
from
it
my
special?
childhood.
And above all,
We
why
continue,
was it
though
destroyed
the temple
in such
seems
a
pale
tragic
without
way?
gold or cedar.
After
The ark
70
is
years
gone,
of
but our
exile
faith
in
builds
Babylon,
this.
the Jews were finally allowed to return home. The Persian king, Cyrus the Great, not only allowed their
Will the divine
return,
presence
but also
return to this
ordered the
humble structure?
rebuilding
I
of the
fear
temple
our mouths
and helped
forsaken.
finance
Then
the
why
work.
do we continue?
But when they began
Brothers
to
and
build,
sisters, though our temple
they
is
faced a
small, we
harsh
build with
reality.
faith.
the new
Yes,
temple
we will
would
persevere.
not be like Solomon's. It was smaller, less
A
luxurious,
symbol of rebirth
without the
and
Ark
hope
of the
for our
Covenant,
people.
without the shine of pure gold covering its walls. The elders, who still remembered the first temple, wept with sadness in their eyes. The new structure seemed pale compared to the former glory. But then
Be
something
strong, all you
unexpected
people of the
happened.
land, and
The
work.
prophet Haggai brought a surprising
For I am
message.
with you, declares
The
the
glory of this latter
Lord. The glory
house
of this
shall be
present
greater
house
than
will
of
be
the
greater
former.
than the glory of
Haggai
the former,
2-9.
says the Lord.
But how could this be? How could a seemingly inferior temple be more glorious than Solomon's? Centuries later, Herod
Behold
the
the
Great,
vision.
an ambitious king obsessed with
culture,
grandeur,
sire, imagination.
decided to expand
It is
and
divine
embellish
will.
the Second Temple. What was once a modest structure became one of the wonders of the ancient world. The size of the temple courtyard was doubled, creating a vast religious complex. Monumental columns and huge walkways were built, impressing any visitor. Parts of the temple were coated with gold and white marble, making its structure shine under the Jerusalem sun. The result, a building so splendid that it left pilgrims in awe. The temple became the beating heart of Judaism, where crowds gathered to pray, sacrifice, and seek the presence of God. It was in this
Blessed are the
temple
pure in
that
heart,
Jesus
for
taught,
they shall see God.
drove out the merchants, and made a
kingdom
shocking
of God is
prophetic
near.
declaration.
It is written, my
Not
house
one
shall be a house
stone
of
here
prayer.
will be left
But
on
you have
another.
beaten and broken.
Everything will be thrown down.
You see this magnificent
Matthew
temple?
24
The days
to 2.
will come when not
A
one
prophecy
stone will
that
be
would
left
later
upon
be
another. Everyone will be
devastatingly
thrown
fulfilled.
down.
Truly, I
In
tell
70
you, not
AD,
one stone die
the
here
Roman
will be left
Empire
on another.
besieged Jerusalem
Everyone.
in response to the first Jewish revolt. After months of brutal fighting, the Romans invaded the city and set the temple on fire. Historical accounts tell that the gold melted with the flames and dripped between the stones, leading the Roman soldiers to dismantle every part of the temple to recover the precious metal. When it was all over, nothing remained. but ruins. All that was left was a piece of the structure, the western wall, one of the last remnants of the temple's grandeur, and at the same time, a reminder of the pain of loss. But the story of the temple doesn't end here. The temple was the place of God's presence, where sacrifices were offered and the people sought forgiveness and guidance. But something changed. Jesus brought a revolutionary
true
message.
temple.
He declared,
Destroy this,
destroy
and in 3
this
days
temple,
I will raise it
and I will
again.
raise
I
it
will
again in
rebuild
3
it."
days. John
God does not
2:19.
dwell in buildings
He wasn't
of
just
stone,
speaking about
but
stones
in the hearts
and
of the
walls.
people.
He was speaking about himself. The true temple would no longer be a building. God would dwell in the hearts of people. Now think with me. If God wants to dwell in you, is your life prepared to receive Him? Let this
From buildings
reflection
of
stay with
stone
you.
to the
Thank
hearts
you
of
for
all
watching
who
this
believe.
far. May God bless
Peace
you,
and hope fill
we'll
this
see you
sacred
soon.
place.